Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
You have your number of REST endpoints. So we will give it some documentation kind of this, that is okay. I'm just taking some random port number. And which role the type of a request it can be taken care. So is it will be only accepts get or post or put or delete or the patch, because some cases we go lot with patch because basically post will be doing only the job of insert, that is if the record does not exist it will insert it, but put will, if the record is present it will update, if record does not present it will do insert. But where I want to do only taken care of update job, so then we'll go with the patch. So that is in the Swagger UI will provide the documentation for our REST endpoint documents, for REST endpoints. That is, okay, this is the REST endpoint and which all the methods will be supported. So this one will be done by the Swagger, and what is the document or what is the securities that provided for this, all the information will be given it here. But where when you go with the service discovery, so that is it up and running, or what is the status of your service? It will not give what is the endpoint for this, and what methods will be supporting. All this information will be not provided by the service discovery. It will give only what services are up and running. Is it any leakages happening, or like if one service is down, or in that one service some parts are not working, you want to take in care of fault tolerance. So then that is another part to take in care of fault tolerance. Either we go with circuit breakers or we have something called Hystrix. So different components are there. In the Spring Cloud umbrella, we can go with any of those things. So Swagger UI basically given for documentation of REST endpoints. Like you develop the application, you have to give your REST endpoints document to the maybe with the other team. Based on that, they have to develop their front end application. So I guess as you're using as a desktop applications, you may be using JavaFX or you may be using Swings, right?
Yes.
Yeah, or because now as ICNG is restructurizing, they're using some Angular as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So our front end is Angular and
Yeah,
Angular 2.
Angular 2. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Swagger fetches the documentation.
Sorry.
So
Yeah, Kavya,
Swagger
can you
gives all
repeat
this.
it?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Swagger UI gives us the REST endpoints with the documentations, inputs, and those things, right? So how does it fetches it from a backend service?
So that is, we will be configuring the Swagger in our application. So that is when you develop any application, so we can add the dependencies and we can enable the Swagger UI. So like we'll be having annotations to be used as like how other annotations you are using. So we will be using a Swagger annotations in our controller where you want to write it. So based on that, when you run your application, you will be having some default port numbers to run your Swagger HTML. you'll be having one Swagger HTML file will be there. So which is a one UI part. So that will be give the complete documentation for your application. And you can just make simple test. Is it application is running? What is the requested URL? What is the response body will be given? So all those will be given here. So basically when you go with the your controller, in the controller layer, we can go with the annotations like at the rate of where we write a path. So after the path, we can mention here at the rate of API. In the API, we can provide it. What is the description you want to give it, or what is the URL you want to give it? So the value. So for this is for API documentation. Like if I'll just take it here, people. And what is the description for the message you want to, or for this particular component you want to write it. Like is what is this API and all, and what is the API operations you want to give it. So we have some annotations to be taken care with the Swagger, which is like you have some producers which is to give the data for you. So where we configure it as API operation. So in the API operation, we can provide a lot of other attributes like so what is the value to access this, or what is the value, what you want to just display it. So, and you want to give some nodes of this, you can give it here. And what is the response you are expecting? Like for example, you are expecting the whole one object. Like for example, I have one object called person. So that I'm expecting the response as a person dot class. So that is a response which I'm expecting. And then what is a response container? Is it only giving a list, or what is the whole details it is giving? So that is we can configure it here, response container. And what is this response container is gives. So for all this API operation we can be writing that is in the rest in the controller. Like for example, you are writing here the method which is returning here collection of person. So this method is returning a collection of person. So something called get people. So this is the method which we have it. So for this, if you're like maybe it is based on some condition, like you are sending some query parameters or you are sending some path parameters. So if you want to give the path parameter or query parameter information, all you can configure it here by using API param. So that is what is the value you want to give. So all this information can be given here. And the same way, what is the, like if you have multiple responses, like if it is not available, you want to give 404, or what is 404, and what is the message you want to give. So you can, after the API operation, you can configure it here after the API operation. If you have any other responses, multiple responses should be configured, you can give it here at the rate of API responses. And so if you have only one response or more response, like for example, we'll be writing a lot of exception handlings, right? So that is one exception handler will be writing one handler and one response body we will be configuring. So based on that, what is the API response you want to give it? You will have more than one response. So that we will use here API response inside the API response. So what is the code? That is if it is a 404 is a code. So then what is the message you want to give it? So that is you want to give some message for the API response of this. So that is REST resources classes or the model classes. You can go with uh, API model I property, or how? Like if you have like here, I just took an example of person class. So in this person class, how we will be writing? Like person is a model class. So like we will write here class person. We'll use it here. API model. And what is the value on description? And for suppose in the person you have some properties which is private string name. So if this is one property we have it, so which is a API property, so that we can use it here at the rate of API model property. So that is how you want to provide the documentation. So based on that, detailed annotations you will be using. So where like whenever you're working with a Swagger, so that is you can configure your JAX JAX RS server as well if you're going with only Spring application instead of Spring Boot. You can configure what is the REST service, and like if you want to configure the properties and all. So with the application or properties, you can configure, okay, what is the Swagger properties you want to enable. So then you will use all this different type of annotations to be taken care.
Okay. Kangama is somehow not taking her call. I'm not sure what is the problem.
Yeah, it's okay, no issues.
Maybe, yeah, maybe she'll join sometime in between. Maybe we can start from.
Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah,
We can start all right.
Yeah, let's start from the very beginning.
yeah, sure. So
Yeah.
actually, this is the standard content which we follow. So as you
Okay.
said, already working on a Spring Cloud configuration, like as you asked about the Spring Cloud and the microservices. So maybe last 2 3 sessions I can make this. Is that okay? Or you want to just start it from here also? I'm okay. It's your wish how you want me go, because anyway it is dedicated for you three people only. According to you three, I can go ahead. No issues.
Okay.
Let's start with Spring Framework only because I mean we don't have that much in-depth idea about the Spring Framework.
Much
I saw
understand.
a couple of courses, but they were mostly yeah. We know the project structure, how this works, this file application or properties, and a lot of things, log backend. But how everything comes together, it's like if you want to develop a project independently,
Okay,
I think that should be a better understanding.
Yeah.
sure. Oh,
I'm good with
yeah.
Bhushan. Yeah.
Okay. One more thing, like, uh, you want me to prepare a project and demonstration, or do we do project in session during sessions?
Um, Maybe for the speeding it up, maybe you can prepare and we can see the demo right Bhushan because some stuff we know.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, if we need it, if we feel that yeah, later on we should do it hands-on along with the course, then we'll switch to that.
We'll see today's session how it goes. Then maybe we can also give feedback how we want to continue. That should be okay.
Hello, hello. I think she's not able to hear us.
I think we lost the audio. Can we ping somewhere?
Yes,
Uh,
no, actually, on people I see, yeah,
hmm.
chat. No.
Am I audible now?
Yes,
Yeah.
we lost.
In the middle. Yeah. Okay. So basically, when we go with any project development, so that is we'll make it as a multi-tier project or multi-tier application. So where we configure it as models, or we can call it as pojos, or sometimes we call it as a beans, and which always have a properties like getters, setters. Depends on our requirement, we will construct our classes, and which have a simple pojos. So where which have a constructors, getters, and setters, and always we follow the rules here. That is, the class which contains getters, setters does not have any business logic, and which will always have a default constructor, which may be a model, Pojo, Beans, or if you are working with respect to any ORM frameworks, we will make it as a entities. If it is a ORM framework, we will use it. We will make it as a entities. So it represents your data structures or database. So which will call it as a entities only if you are working on any ORM framework like Hibernate or JPA. So then we go with the DAOs, so which is basically a database operations, or it is based on the design pattern, which is database access objects, data access objects, which is DAO layer. And then we have a BOS, which is called business object, or we can use it as a service classes also, where we'll write our business logics or our services. So where we will be having our controllers, which is basically take our request and a response. So which is either it may be a servlet. So we use it as a servlet, or here we call it as a controllers, which basically takes a request and response. Takes a request and gives a response. So this will be a simple architecture where we will be following, and we may have a views, which is basically the UI. So where we can write here the presentation by using HTML, CSS, or anything. So or any UI. Like if you specific to Java, we can make it as JSPs. If it is desktop application, it may be a Swing or it may be a JavaFX. So any. So that's what simple architecture will be following. So when we go with multi-tier architecture, so or if we generally construct a class, so you will be having some the terminologies as easy relationships or generalizations, and we have a specialization which is HASI. So where easy relationship, we go with the inheritance with any object-oriented programming. Inheritance, and then we go with a HASI relationship. So HASI relationship, basically we call it as a association. So in the association, we have a two types, which is aggregation, and we have a composition. Where in the aggregation, So one object can be like HASI is one object is part of another object. That is like we see a flight or a ticket has a booking. So that is we will be having a ticket object which have a person object. Ticket has a person. So or we have a lot of any relationships as a HASI, like employee has a address or pizza has a toppings. So you have lot of relationships. So where if the one object is part of another object, we call it as a HASI relationship. So then where you go with one object cannot be present without the another, then we call it as a aggregation. Means one object can be exist without the another object also. It's aggregation. Composition, it is tightly coupled. So that is one object is entirely depends on the other object. Like if I order a pizza which have a toppings of olives or extra toppings which I'm ordering, the cost will be vary. So that is pizza has a dependency with the topping. So which is exactly depends on the another object. Like library has a books. Without a books, I can't name it as a library. So one object is entirely dependent on the other object. So which we will call it as a uh, composition. One object is entirely depends on the other object. So where we go with a number of other terminologies, which is coupling and the cohesion. The coupling is the measure of the degree of interdependency between the modules. So that is one module is dependent on the another module, which is interdependency between the modules. Interdependency modules. So it's a measure of the degree of interdependency between the modules. So where we will be having different type of coupling. So where if the data coupling is the best one, so but content coupling is the worst case. So that is we have data coupling, stamp coupling, control coupling, external common content coupling, different type of couplings are there. So where if the dependency between the modules is based on the fact they communicate by passing only data, then the modules are, if the two modules are between dependent on the data, then it is called data dependent. Like customer billing system will be the example of a data coupling. So which is data coupling. If the dependency between the data, then it is. So like example, customer and the billing, customer billing system. Then we have stamp coupling, that is the complete data structure is passed from one module to another one. So which is it's have a efficient factors also will be. So it's uh, designer may use of this as well. So entire data of one module is completely dependent on the entire module of another data. So which is stamp coupling. Then we have control coupling, which is where the control of information, that is they're said to be control couple. That is, for example, if you are sending a sort function that takes the comparison between the functions as an argument, sorting will be the best example for control coupling. Then if you have some external files or a format or some devices, so that we will call it as a external coupling. Then we'll
What is
have
the example for stamp coupling?
mm, basically example is when it is not a lazy code. So something called eager loading, that is before your calling, everything is loaded. Like for example, if you take your Spring, so whenever uh, like there is something called lazy loading and eager loading. Lazy
Yeah.
loading is when you call that particular relationship, then only it will be called. But eager loading,
Yeah.
if you just load any classes, like if all the classes are registered to your container, it will be immediately called. So that will be eager. So when it is a kind of eager loading, so that is you have a relationship with the data. So one, like for example, customer is depends on the flight, and the flight is depends on the flight type, and the flight type is depends on the route, and the route is depend on the schedule. So there is a list of dependence, list of coupling is there. So if you just retrieve the customer, whole list of that flight system will be retrieved. So which is eagerly loaded. You're not asking for it, but still, as a system is eager, so entire data is dependent on, because your ticket, you have booked the flight, your flight ticket is completely should be only for this due journey on this date for this only this flight, right? So it is
Yeah.
eager loaded. So that will be a stamp coupling. One data is entirely dependent on the other data.
Okay.
So control coupling basically type of sorting. Any external system will be using external files, like the modules are dependent on the external software. It may be some other protocol, or it may be any external device, anything, any external systems. So the common coupling means shared data, like global data structures, or it has got some, it is difficult in that reusing modules. It reduces the ability to control the data access and reduce the maintainability. So that when you go for a common coupling, so that it will be like any global data structure, you made the global you made it as some data structure as a global, so that which you are using, your this is shared between the multiple modules. So one module is changed, then it is reflecting to other module as well, so which will become a difficulty in the reusing modules. Then content coupling. So where in the content coupling, one module can modify the data of another module. So the control flow is also passed to this. When the content coupling we see, it is completely dependent on the other. So the data is also changing by the another module. So where it is a worst case in the coupling, which is tightly coupled, where like if you are having, so some simple example, you have an project which is already developed. So where, sorry, okay. So that is where one module is entirely dependent on the other module. If your changes, some changes happen to your BO layer. So in the BO layer, you have written the constructor which takes only this particular parameter. So your data source is changed. So then your BO also will be changed because of your content. It is depends on the content coupling. So content coupling will be the worst case for your coupling, which we'll call it as a data coupling. So this is the different type of couplings which we have it. And after that, we have another principle which is called cohesion. So which is
How do we measure this coupling?
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan, and grow your skills immensely.
it's measuring means like how much, what is the dependent case? Is it your data is dependent, or your part of the data is dependent, or is it entire code is like you have written one class, that class is a part of another class. So where you have written a constructor, so you can't construct that. So depends on um, what is the code you
Like, do we
have written.
have?
Sorry.
So I was asking, like if I want to measure the complexity of a service,
Hmm.
do we have like some tool or something through which we can measure this degree of coupling?
Okay, okay. So tool means we will create some matrix that will capture the what is the measurement of that. Like you will be making as a some matrix kind of a system. So in that matrix system we will be using, like we'll create
But how
a.
do we create?
Okay, so when we write it, so we'll write what is the data is what is the type of a coupling type will be, and what is the level of a coupling. So all those will be writing and given. There is some tool which I'm not remembering. Will be basically a theoretical approach only. It will be only a theoretical approach. So that is, we have to make a matrix or create a matrix. So based on that, like we will be writing some matrix kind of diagram. So how we will be writing is, let me just,
But doing a manual matrix is like very tedious, right?
sorry.
Like if I have to do this coupling, I mean, if I have to analyze a service for coupling, like
Hmm.
if I have to fill the matrix like by manual, then that's kind of
Yes,
not
yes.
feasible.
Uh, it will be a like coupling type and the coupling level, and what is a modified definition between component X and Y only we will do it. Not sure is it any tool is there or not. As I know
One
the
example you
general.
gave there was stamp coupling, that is eager loading. How this is reflected in Spring?
That is, we have different containers. There are two IOC containers. One is Bean Factory and one is application context. The application context is eagerly loaded. So because if you register your Spring any component, like we use annotations, right? Whenever you use a component annotation, so it will be automatically that object will be created.
Okay.
So it will be when you requested or not. But if already your app configuration contain the component scan of that project, so sorry, that part of the package, so it will be all the objects will be loaded eagerly. Like as when we go here, so we have two things. One is Bean Factory. When we go with the Bean Factory, the objects will be not created by default. It's a lazy loading. So where we have a application context, in application context, the main feature is eager loading. So that is, it will be loaded all the components which is required. So where if you have what are the components you will be writing, so how will you basically configure your Spring application? Either with either you go with Spring XML way or Mixer way or annotations way, right? So that is in which way you do, but we will be loading here application context, context equals anything which you want to load it, which is new class path. If you are going with XML, you'll use class path or annotation config application context. So this you will be configured here. So in the application config annotation config application context, you will load what is the configuration class you are writing. So like if my configuration class name is app config, so we will write it here app config class. So when this app config class will be loaded, so like in the if you are going for app config, so app config, so we will make it, it's a configuration class. So we will use @ configuration and you will use @ component scan. I'm talking about Spring, not the Spring Boot and the component scan.
Okay.
So in the component scan, we will mention here what is the base package. So in this base package, we will mention, so what are all the modules or what are all the packages should be loaded. So that is, I will write it here, com dot spring people dot something like model. So I just loaded only 2 packages to my component scan. Okay. So this is my app config. I did the configuration. So my Spring
What is that
application,
configuration does? I kind of didn't get it.
it will represent, does the annotation to represent, it's a configuration class.
Okay.
Like we have a different annotations with respect to Spring. So where we make a component, our the component will be mentioned. Okay, it is the type of a Java object. So it will represent it's a component class. Where either you can make it
Okay.
as a component or specific component, like if it's doing some database operation, will mention repository. If it's
Okay.
doing data operations, if it's doing some business logic, we will make it as a service. So if it is
Is it
working
just for the kind of, I'm sorry to
for
interrupt.
readability,
Is it just is it just for like the readability kind of a step, or Spring
yes,
internally has a meaning for it?
it's, see, all these are the stereotype annotations to the component itself. So either if you mention it as a component, yes, it works the same. If you make it repository also, it works the same. There is no difference in the working. But only the things is it's a code readability, so that will represent, okay, it is doing a database job and it is doing a service job. It is taking a request and giving a response. And when we go with the controller, it always look for the view as well. Controller annotation will always look for a view. Do you have a view? But I don't want to give a view. Either we can go with controller plus response body. I can mention it. I'm not looking for any view. I want to go with a response body. So, but why to mention it to controller plus response body? Instead of mentioning both, we can go with only one, which is REST controller. So then our controller will become a type of a REST application or the REST controller, and it does not look for the view. Controller always look for the view, but REST controller does not. For the service and repository, you can mention either component as well, but it gives the code
Okay.
readability. This is to mention, it is to take your request and responses. Where when we go with the Spring MVC, it is based on the front controller design pattern. There is one design pattern called front controller. I'll just go again when we discuss with the Spring MVC, so that
Okay.
there will be only one person who will take in care of each and every request. Like when we develop a application as a web application with respect to Java, without servlet, we can't develop any web application. So it's only one person who can take a request and gives the response. For each request, we will create one servlet. But why to create number of servlets? So that what we can do it, there was one framework called Struts, which we used to use it for view UI part. So they come up with one solution, which is will have only one person who will be the middle or the front person who will take in care of all the requests, and it will only expose it to the client, and rest of the job will be taken care by the front controller. So it is based on it is a one design pattern. Front controller is a one J2E design pattern. Based on this front controller, we got a Spring MVC. Just we were discussing only a Spring before going to the dependency injection. I'm explaining the coupling and cohesion. So after that, we'll based on what design pattern, what module has come up with the Spring. That's what we'll see.
Okay. So we will touch upon these things once again.
Yeah, all the things. Yes. So any questions as of now?
So if we are coming
Going
back to
to
these annotations,
Yeah, these annotations we will do with the coding as well.
okay, then no questions for now.
so bean factory and application context. When do you use one or the other?
Okay. If you are expecting you want to work with the internationalization and you don't want all your components should not be eagerly loaded. Like when I deploy my application, I don't want all the modules objects should be created. I want the component should be available only when I send a request. And I don't want the internationalization support. Then we go with the bean factory. If your project is expecting to work on an internationalization and you want to go with eagerly loaded, like when we deploy our application, once the application is uh, started, it should create the objects for all the components which is available. Then we go with the application context.
We will have usually mix of both, right? For some objects we want to do lazy initialization, for some we need eager loading.
But if you are going with a Spring Boot, by default, Spring Boot is loaded with application context. It's eagerly loading.
Okay.
And it supports for I18N.
What is that?
Generally,
Internationalization.
Okay. Okay.
okay. Generally, in our projects, I've seen where we are creating this state machines. Where bean factory is used. Any
Hmm.
specific reason?
Because for lazy loading, because your applications are like when you take it as a X-ray machine. So I don't want all the objects should be prepared when I just started to take a X-ray. After taking a X-ray, I want to load all of the modules. So it should be like based on my request, it should be loaded. So that's why they configured with the Bean Factory.
Okay. But I think
Only
it's more useful where the logic is a bit complex or if the object is heavy. If I'm creating a very small state machine with a couple of states only, is it really necessary there?
for which one? For the state missions.
Yeah, or for any other code. I mean, where we are using very complex or bulky objects, then I think it's useful. But if we are
Bean
using,
Factory.
yeah,
Yeah, because if it's a one or two, like one object is depends on the another is depends on another. Like you're making a big complex object, so that if you make it as an application context, so at when your application is bootstrapped itself, so like if you have
mhm,
a 10 dependent objects, like one object, another object, other, so that it will take a bit delay to load one by one all the object.
mhm.
So based on depends on our request, one by one object should be loaded. So we go with the bean factory.
Okay.
So where cohesion, it's a measure of a degree to which the elements of the module are functionally related. Where degree to which elements of module inside one module are functionally related. So that will be a cohesion. So where if it's a functional cohesion, functionally the module intermodule, like inside a module it should be related. And where sequence, we have a functional cohesion, sequential cohesion. So where we have a communication cohesion, procedural, temporal, logical, different type of cohesions are there. So whenever we develop any application, so we always say it should be high cohesive and low coupling, or we say loose coupling. The application should be the good design will be should be high cohesive, that is the functionally related means it should be with the functional cohesion, that is every element of a single computation is contained in the component which is functionally. And so where it should be high cohesive application and loose coupling application. So one object should not be dependent on another object, it should not be tightly coupled. So where we go with a multi-tier architecture system. So that is inside a DAO or inside a BVO, we create the DAO object. Inside the controller, we create the BVO's object. So that is we are creating the objects uh, one on another. So that is there is a dependency. Shall I go ahead?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So where continuous like you will be having here the dependencies. So that is one object is depends on the another object. So that what will happen? So that is if any changes will happen to one, so that the entire system will be go for a task. So again, everything should be rewritten. So or should be taken care of that. So that is we have a one principle called dependency inversion principle. So that is where so DIP. So dependency inversion principle. So that is where you are creating the object of using the new operator. Result is being tightly coupled to another class. I will just take a simple silly example. So where I have a class employee, I have a class address, and in the employee, inside the employee, I have a employee has a address. So where I will make one property as a address addr equals new address. It works fine, no problem. Employee has a address. And when the employee object created, address object also will be getting created. So let's see new operator results being it is tightly coupled. Whenever you write this code, it says it's tightly coupled because the employee is completely dependent on your address object. So like maybe you are writing inside a constructor. I can't create the employee object without the address. So the whenever I create the employee object, so the address object will be automatically created. But if I do some changes to my employee class, so that is in the class address, what we will write it. So that is I will create one constructor in the address and I'll pass here string ename, string street. So I just have some parameters. I've written some constructor. So now my employee class will be not compiled. It will not do the compilation because so at the compilation error says at the line number 61, so address there is no default constructor is present in the address class, because the address have a parameterized constructor, right? So that is, the new operator results in class being tightly coupled to another class. Such coupling appears harmless, does not disrupt small program. If it's a small, it's okay. Where enterprise level of application you are preparing, so it is basically a dependent. So where when we go with the any design principles, we have something called solid design patterns or the solid principles. In that solid principles, D stands for dependency. D stands for the dependency. A high level module should not dependent on the low level module. The D says high level module should not dependent on the low level module, and both should dependent on the abstraction. So you can make it both can be depends on the abstraction. So it should not be dependent on each other. So like here, if you create the objects like this, like here address we created an employee. So employee class becomes here dependent, because here if the small changes happen to the address constructor, so that is your employee also, so it becomes a dependent object. So how this dependency inversion principle will give the solving of our problem? So that is, let me just take a simple paint here. I have one package here, which is package A, or something like package A. Package B. So where we have here one object, so that is here we have object A, object B. So that is, the references of object E will be dependent on the object B. So that is, here it is depends on the object B. The object E is depends on the object B. That's what we are representing here, which will be a without dependency inversion. So where if I do with the dependency inversion, what we can do it? So the same diagram which I will represent, but what we'll do, instead of we directly making here the reference, we will make here one interference or interfere in, we'll make here one interface, which is something like object E or anything which you want to make it. So which will be referencing to here. The object A will be referencing to here, and the object B will inherit this properties. So the object B will inherit from this. This is without dependency inversion. This is with dependency inversion. So that is, without the inversion principle, object A of a package A refers to object B in the package. So here what we do, we introduce the interface A and as an abstract in the package A. So object A now refers to the interface A, and object B inherit from the interface A. Both object A and B are now dependent on the interface, which is called abstraction. So the pure abstraction is interface, right? So that is the abstraction. The inverted the dependency of exist from object A to object B being dependent on the abstraction, not on themselves. So that is basically a dependency inversion principle. Are you clear with this?
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We create the interfaces, and based on that interface, we will inject which object you wanted, which object you wanted. Like if I just take a simple example, so where I will create here, like I was giving example like pizza. I want to create a pizza. So for this pizza class, so I require a dependency which is of toppings. Instead of making my class as a topping, what I do, I make interface as a toppings. Any topping, it does not have any definition. So what is the message or what is the methods which I want to give it? I can give it here. I can create a different classes which implements the topping. So which is like class veg topping, which implements toppings. So where what I do, you may have different. Okay, I'm just taking here now class pizza. Inside a class pizza, we can't create the object for our interface. What we do, so we will mention here the toppings which have a type, which is topping. We'll mention toppings, which is a topping. So it may be any topping which we wanted. It may be a one topping or it may be a many. When it is many, we will make it here list toppings. List of toppings will be there. So that is I'll mention here topping. So which will be a list or it may be a one. So we make a class. The class is dependent on the your interface, not on the class. So it's abstraction. So that's what the definition which I was saying. So in the solid principles, the D says the high level module should not dependent on low level module, but both should be depends on abstraction. So here it depends on the abstraction. So where depends on when we want to inject it, this we can inject it by using any principles. So based on the CI or the dependency injection is again a one statement or one principle which is based on the inversion of control, which is IOC, till now what we discussed. Or inversion of control, in that principle we have here DI is the one principle. So in that DI we have a two types, which is SI and CI, which is setter injection or constructor injection. So based on this we have a like we have Angular follows dependency injection. We have Spring framework which follows. We have some other framework like Angular also follows the dependency injection, and we have a Spring framework. We have a Dagger. Dagger is also based on Java itself. So we have a Dagger framework, and now J2EE also have the dependency injection, which have a different principles. So that is, you have a lot of other frameworks or use cases where we are going with the DIs, which is dependency injection. So where the injecting the object can be done with the setter way or with the constructor way. If you are going with constructor way, which is constructor injection. If you are going with setter way, which is setter injection. So that is whenever we just discussing about the Spring framework. So that is Spring started with the principle of dependency injection. So that is, it says you don't worry about the creation of objects. You just do configuration, like you do your code and do configuration. I will taken care of object creation. So who will provide the objects for us? So that is, we have a IOC containers. The first module in the Spring is Spring Core module. So the Spring Core module is based on the principle of dependency injection, which is having the IOC container. So in the IOC container, we have a two types of containers, which is, as I said, which is bean factory, and another is application context. So for both we have a these two are again the interfaces. Bean factory is an interface and application context is also interface. We can't create the objects for it. So then how will you load your configurations, or how will write your codes to taken care of your Spring? Okay, so that is
Please enroll our general membership for 399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.